From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm David Forrest reporting. An escape by Sudan's president. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir flew home Monday from South Africa, defying a Pretoria court order to remain in the country until it decided whether he should be arrested on war crimes and genocide charges. Mr. Bashir had been in Johannesburg for an African Union summit, but the International Criminal Court sought to compel his arrest while he was there. Here is ICC Deputy Prosecutor James Stewart.
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of the prosecutor to say that we're disappointed. South Africa is a state party which has always been a strong supporter of the International Criminal Court. And in our view, it was very clear what their obligation was. Their obligation was to arrest President al-Bashir.
James Stewart. U.S. and Libyan officials confirmed today that 2 U.S. fighter planes targeted former North Africa al-Qaeda chief Mokhtar Belmokhtar on Saturday. Deborah Lee James is the U.S. Air Force Secretary.
This strike in the wee hours of Sunday morning was carried out by U.S. aircraft, F-15Es specifically. And I would just say this, that we watched and we waited and we struck when we were ready, and precision weapons were used. And as always, we, just as our allies, we take enormous care to avoid the loss of innocent life.
Libya's internationally recognized government says Belmokhtar is among the dead. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush has officially entered the 2016 presidential contest.
With their phone-it-in foreign policy, the Obama-Clinton-Kerry team is leaving a legacy of crises uncontained, violence unopposed, enemies unnamed, friends undefended, and alliances unraveling.
Jeb Bush, this is VOA News. The White House says a U.S. plan to deploy forces in Eastern Europe and the Baltics is still in its early planning stages. Spokesman Josh Earnest says the plan is part of a decades-old NATO mandate to protect European allies. It was the Obama administration's first public comments on the plan since it was first reported Saturday in the New York Times. The plan, if approved, would position U.S. armor and as many as 5,000 troops in the NATO states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, as well as Romania, Poland, Bulgaria, and possibly Hungary. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is calling for a truce among warring parties in Yemen during the Muslim month of Ramadan. Edward Uranian reports.
Saudi-led coalition warplanes launched airstrikes around the Yemeni capital Sana'a as preparations for peace talks between warring Yemeni parties get underway in Geneva. The Secretary General called for a month-long Ramadan ceasefire or truce, allowing warring parties what he called political space.
I have emphasized the importance of having another humanitarian pause at least 2 weeks.
Mr. Ban urged the warring factions to implement what he called local ceasefires in different parts of the country, leading later to a national ceasefire. Edward Uranian, Cairo.
At least 23 people have been killed and another 100 injured by 2 suicide bombings targeting police in Chad's capital. Officials in N'Djamena say 4 attackers were killed in the assault on Chad's police headquarters and police academy. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Syrian monitors say Kurdish fighters have seized nearly all of a major Syrian border town from the Islamic State group, cutting off a key militant supply route. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said Monday the Kurds control all but a few small pockets of Tal Abyad. A top Russian official says he is confident an agreement can be reached with Iran on its nuclear program, by a June 30th deadline. Russia's TASS news agency quoted Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybakov as saying he categorically wants to stop any talk of a deadline extension. Pope Francis has accepted the resignations of 2 U.S. bishops accused of failing to protect children from a pedophile priest. Archbishop John Neinstead and Auxiliary Bishop Lee Pitch resigned 2 weeks after prosecutors accused church leaders in the Archdiocese of Minneapolis and St. Paul of turning a blind eye toward reports of sexual abuse being committed by a parish priest. From the VOA News Center in Washington, I'm David Forrest.
That's the latest world news from VOA.